Hi, I'm Jill Johnson Young. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Southern California. My areas of expertise are grief and loss, death and dying, all the things related to end of life care. That's because I spent a lot of years doing medical social work and grief and loss work in hospices in 2 states, and it has a special place in my heart. I wrote a book because I found that I didn't have the book I needed when I was doing grief groups and in the work that I do individually with my clients. I also found that in working with funeral directors, they had an inordinate number of families that they served and took care of that they knew were never going to attend a grief support group because 70% of the country doesn't. And they needed something that they could hand to their families so that if they were leaving someone behind and going home after the funeral, they had some place to work through the loss. And that's why I wrote this book. It's Your Own Path Through Grief. It's a workbook designed to take you on your journey from your initial loss, that very first shaky moment, all the way through to recovery and redefining who you are now after your loss. It's designed in a way that can be used individually by one person without ever sharing it with anyone. It can be used working one-to-one with a therapist, and it can be used in a grief support group. And I wrote it that way because I know that as a therapist and as a social worker, I needed something that I could use pretty much anywhere, pull out of the back of my pocket and say, here it is, let's do something here. It has lots of space for writing. It's got topics to write on, and it's designed to take you from, I am not functioning very well, I don't understand what's happening, because we know grief impacts us emotionally, physically, cognitively, spiritually, all the way through to redefining who you are now and how you're taking your loved one who has died into your new life. It is solution focused because that's who I am. I think that we should take these things on. We should look at the loss. We should look at our loved one for who they really were. We should work them into our new life and find a way to recreate our life, incorporating that loss into it. We know from research that folks who reorganize, reinvest, and take their loved one with them in a healthy way, those are the folks who are going to thrive and they're going to survive. The folks who don't reorganize and who don't look at the loss and who sort of just live with it, thinking that grief has to last forever or they're not being loyal or they didn't care enough, those are the folks who get sick and those are the folks who don't survive. And as a therapist who specializes in grief and as a medical social worker for hospice, I think grief is something that we look at, we live with, it happens to every one of us, and we need to learn to cope with it, work it through, and finish it. To be able to say we've recovered. Yes, we're always going to miss our loved one at special moments or at special places, but we're not going to grieve forever because that's not, in my perspective, healthy. We don't have stages of grief. We have tasks we need to complete. We have things we need to finish saying. And we need to have space where we can give ourselves permission to do grief our way. Because every loss is individual. And even if we've all lost the same person, we've all had our own individual loss of a different relationship. This book recognizes that, and it's not written for any one particular relationship for that very reason. I hope you take a look at it. It's available on Amazon.com. It's also available on Your Path Through Grief. On Amazon, you can actually open up the pages and look at some of them. You can reach me at www.yourpaththroughgrief.com or on Facebook at Your Path Through Grief. And you can also find me on Amazon and message me through there. If you have any questions, please let me know. I wish you well, and I hope the book will do for you what it's done for so many of my clients and so many other people across the country and internationally. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.